Hello guys, welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about value and reference data types in JavaScript. It's an important concept to understand, so let's get started. So JavaScript provides us with two main categories of data types. First, we have primitives, and secondly, we have objects. So primitives include string, number, boolean, null, and undefined. And objects include object, arrays, and functions. So in case you didn't know, arrays and functions are considered to be objects in JavaScript. So JavaScript will treat them as objects. Okay, now let's move on to our first example. Here I will define a variable. Let's call it x, and let's assign it to 5. And we can define another variable. Let's call it y, and we will assign it to x here. Okay, now I will log for this x variable. X is equal to x, and I will do the same for y. Okay, now I can run this using Node.js here, node, and then the name of this file is main.js. And here, as you can see, we have here x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 5. Okay, so here this is what it means to be passed by value. So JavaScript here created another copy of this value inside x variable, and it assigned it to y. Okay, so now if I make any changes to x here, let's change x to 8, for example, and let's run this again. Here we will get x is equal to 8 and y is still 5. Okay, so or this is what it means to be passed by value. Okay, so now that will work for any types here. So for all primitive types, that would be the case. Now let's move on to the objects, to the second category. So now if I change this to an array, and I will put 1 and 2 here inside, I will remove this line and I will run this again. Here, as we can see here, x is equal to this array, and y is also has the same array. Okay, but now notice what will happen if I make any changes to x. Here, let's say we want to add a new element. Let's add 3, and let's run this again. Here, as you can see here, x was updated with the new value, but also y was updated with the new value. So here, if you notice here that 3 was added to y as well. So why is that? So to better understand this, we will see this diagram. So now in the case of objects are passed by reference. So here x and y variables are pointing to the same memory location, which stores this array. So x and y both have a reference to this array. They don't store it. They don't store the actual array inside of it, but no, instead it will x and y variables contain a reference to it. They both contain address for where this array lives in the memory. Okay, so if we'll have a look at this diagram here, that represents being passed by value. So in the case of primitive data types here, x and y will both have their own copy of data. So when JavaScript passes these values, these data types, primitive data types, it would pass by value. So it will make a copy of this data and then it will pass it. X and Y both will have their own copy of data. But in the case of passed by reference, JavaScript will not create another copy of this array or object that we want to pass, but instead it will give you a reference to work with this array or object. So here we will go back to VS Code and we'll make one more example. So in this example, I want to talk about comparison. So first, let's remove this. And here I will change this to a string and I will say hi. So if I run this again, here I will say console.log x is equal to y. And I will run this again. Here that will give me true. Okay, it's the same as doing like this. Okay, that will give us true. But now let's see when it comes to objects or data types that are passed by reference. So I will make this an object, and I will say here name is equal to user1, for example. And I will also we'll do the same for y. So here, if I run this again, I will get false. So why is that? So here, even though x and y has the same, they both have the same value, but or at least the same shape of an object, but still they don't have the same object. So this object lives somewhere on a memory location, and this object will be stored on a different location in memory. Okay, so even though they are the same, even though they look the same, but they are not. They don't share the same reference. So if I change this, if I do here x instead, notice here that if I run this again, I will get true. So because now the x and y both have the same reference to the same object. So to summarize, here JavaScript will pass primitive data types by value. So it will make a copy of this data and it will pass it. But in the case of pass by reference, here it will not make a new copy of the object or array or function or that you are dealing with, but instead it will pass a reference to this object or array and it will use it. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in another one.